How to create DB connector and use it in Flow. Go to Connectors tab, click plus and select New DB connector. Enter connector name in a pop-up window and click Create. The system has created DB connector template to be populated. Select database type, enter URL, username and password to connect to required database. Description is optional. Click Check Connection. Connection status connected means connection parameters correct and DB connection has been established. Error message appears if any of the parameters is incorrect and DB connection hasn't been established. Click plus on Queries panel to add a new query. Enter query name and click Create. Enter SQL query that selects all the records in the database and click Test. Query result will appear on Records panel. Click Generate button to add data structure for query result. Enter new structure name. Select required columns to add them as data structure properties. New structure will be created in Generated Connectors DB folder on Structures tab. Add another query to insert new record using brackets for query parameters. The system automatically creates the list of query parameters on the corresponding panel. Enter test and data for query parameters and click Test. New row has been added to DB table. Add one more query that will delete a record with the corresponding ID. Enter value for query parameter and click Test. One row with the corresponding ID was removed from the DB table. Now let's create a flow to get all the records from the database. Update flow output data type from string to array of DB records. To do so, go to Generated Data Structure and select folder with DB connector name, or use search. Drag and drop new DB connector node on the flow. Go to Parameters panel. Select the query that returns all the records from the database. Drag and drop assign node on the flow after DB connector node. Select flow output as variable and assign generated structure to the variable. The flow will return DB query result as flow execution output. Create another flow to add a record to the database. Add inputs that correspond to DB structure. Leave output as it is. Drag and drop DB connector node to the flow and link it to a query that inserts a new record. Click Confirm. Populate query parameters with the corresponding input variables. Drag and drop if node to the flow. Add if condition in expression editor. Drag and drop assign node to the flow to assign flow output if condition is met. Select flow output as a variable and add a message for successful query. Add another assign node next to the flow to assign output if condition is not met. Connect if node and new assign node with no error. Connect assign node and out. Make assign node active. Select flow output as a variable and add an error message for unsuccessful query. Create one more flow to remove a record from the database. Update flow input name and change its data type. Drag and drop DB connector to the flow and link it to a query that deletes a record from the database by its ID. Select flow input as a parameter. Drag and drop assign node to the flow. Select output as a variable and add a message that will be returned as a flow output. Click Run to compile the project. Wait until compilation is complete and Run button changes its color to green. Go to Test and Helper. Select first flow that returns all the records from the database. Click Run and check the result. Select another flow that inserts the record into the database. Enter test and data. Click Run and see the flow response. Now select first flow again that returns all records from the database. Click Run and make sure the new record has been added as a result of the previous flow execution. Now select the flow that removes a record from the database. Enter record ID as a testing data, click Run, and check the response. Let's execute the flow that returns all the records one more time. Click Run. You can see that the record has been deleted from the database.